Hi everyone, I'm Jasmine and I'm a willow weaver and I've made this little tiny frame basket and I've filmed me doing it in real time. The real time film of it is about 2 hours long, full tuition. There's a PDF printout sheet that goes through willow, types of willow, soaking, mellowing, all your timings, and it's got the template so you can literally just follow that exact shape that's printed out, and you will end up with this exact result. Starts off with 2 shapes that are fully dried. Use white willow to show you how to make these frames. So to make an oval like this, you're aiming for a circle really, and then we tie the string on afterwards to pinch the sides in to make it more oval shaped. To make sure you see every single stage of making this basket in detail with a voiceover of all the key steps, you can watch the full tutorial. It's about 2 hours long and it's the pace that I actually make the basket at, so it's excellent for following along. It's also really handy because there's a PDF download sheet that comes with it that's got the templates, the markings, information on soaking, mellowing, different types of willow thicknesses. And all this information on the PDF might just help answer any questions you have from watching this video alone. It's because I'd quite like this to be an oval shape as opposed to a circle, so you just pinch the sides in and tie it. Now this one's the handle and it goes down, and I've done a straight bottom on this one. You can do a curved bottom, but I've angled it and just done it straight because I quite like the basket to have a flat surface to sit on, so we've gone with that. Again, this is on the template, so you'll be able to copy the exact dimensions. Not really looking for a curve, we're looking for a kink, so I just use my nail, my thumb, and I just bend it over into an angle. And exactly the same as we did with the hoop. Just taking a bit of material off there just to taper it. So there we are, we've got the 2 frames. We can imagine they've dried out. And you can see when they go together there that one's the handle and the other's the rim of the basket. So the hoop goes inside the D part and you just eyeball it to see roughly where they're going to meet. On the template I'll put a mark that's halfway round the oval on either side, and roughly about, I think it's about 7 or 8 centimetres up from the bottom of the handle there, and that's roughly where they cross over. The little groove, the little nick that I'm making is just where the 2 pieces meet, and just taking that little bit. You don't want to go into not even halfway, you know, you're just taking a smidge off. Can you see how this just slots in now? There's 2 little semicircles. That's all the grooves made now, and it's just sitting in there nicely. I'm going to tape one side on, making sure it stays in the groove. Here I'm splitting the rod in 2 just using my finger. The tutorial explains this step in more detail. Okay, we're going to attach these 2 with a god's eye. It's a technique that's used, it's decorative, but it really secures these 2 frames together. And the tutorial shows it much clearer and much slower. And it's simpler than it initially looks. It's really a 2-step process, and you can work clockwise or anti-clockwise. And the 2 stages really is behind a bit of frame, out the front, diagonally across. Behind the next bit of frame, out the front, diagonally across. And you keep repeating those same steps all the way around, and you get this lovely diamond shape that binds all together. You do exactly the same on the other side. The rim of the basket is now secure to the handle. Be so surprised at how tight this is. And those little notches that we put in around the rim and on the handle don't just provide a marking point and a bit to start the God's Eye, it just stops it slipping at this point as well, because those grooves are permanently in those slots. The next stage in the frame is to put in the ribs. There's 4 to go in, 2 on the left, 2 on the right, and that'll give us the last little bits to be able to actually start weaving the basket. I'm going to use exactly the same material as I did for the frame for the handle and the rim for the ribs. White willow, same thickness, and we'll bend them into a curve like this, and we'll put 2 on one side and then 2 on the other side. Now in the PDF it's got an estimate on the length you need these to be as well. Roughly look from one centre of the God's Eye to the other centre. Take the thicker end and just do a little angled cut or slipe and jam it up into that God's Eye, and you'll be able to bend the other side round. And that's me looking at it side on and using my finger almost like it's sitting on a table and going, no, it's still a fraction too long. And you can see I'm only taking a little bit off at a time. That's sort of what I'm aiming for. See how it looks like it could actually sit flat. Now, because I've got one, I know that the next one's going to be really similar. So I'm not cutting it exactly to size. I'm actually cutting it longer, because you will need to cut it down. And this is the 2 ribs being measured, fitted, and they're now a mirror image of each other. They're going to be sitting left and right effectively of that bottom part of the frame. So all 3 of them will touch on a tabletop when the basket goes down. I need it to be able to stand. That was me showing what rib we're working on next. It's the next one up. We'll just whiz through this because it's really similar to what we've just done. But if you need more information or the follow along real-time pace, by all means, it's in the full tutorial. There we are, that's effectively the frame. You look at it from all angles. You're looking for symmetry. You've got a good idea of where everything is meant to be positioned. And it looks like good spacing to start the weave. Now I've picked 2 quite slim rods here just to start off with. You start with the tips. And we're just tucking the tip of one rod in behind that central bottom bit of frame. And then we're bringing the second tip of the second rod and we're just going to tuck that in behind the next rib along on the right. Now I'm using my left thumb to hold the two loose bits of tip so I can work with a bit of tension against it. And I take the rod on the left, the first one we put in, and you'll see it's effectively passing over the top of a rib, and then I've put it in behind the next rib and out the front. Take the next rod, it goes over the top of a rib, in behind the next rib. Now this one's wrapping all the way, looping right over the frame and out the front. And this one here, round the front of the frame and in behind the next rib down and out the front. And you work your way around the God's eye, securing all your ribs in place. Up round the rim of the basket, back on yourself, just alternating your weavers as you go. If you've never woven before, it'll be a lot easier to weave along with me at the real time pace because this has been sped up. Although it's quite fast to watch, you can still see that I'm just working in semicircles around one half of the God's eye. Across the basket, round the rim, double back on yourself, across the basket the other way, round the rim, double back on yourself. And these are the initial tips, we're just cutting off there, we don't need them anymore because everything's tight at this point and pinned in place. I'm spending quite a bit of time squishing the weavers down onto the previous row, just so as the finished basket isn't too gappy. You have to do this as you go because you can't weave away, see it's gappy, then bunch it up. The material's too strong, so you have to do it on every turn and position the weaver exactly where you want it to be. There we go, we've stopped when the weavers have come to an end and it's really starting to take shape. We repeat that exact same thing on the other side and we just keep weaving side to side, inserting new rods when we run out, and before you know it you'll have a finished basket. And we've skipped ahead a bit here now because you can see both sides have been woven in, so all the ribs are secure. Both sides are equal up to this point, and we're inserting 2 new rods. We continue as we have been. The full tutorial is about 2 hours. That gives you an idea of the time in which you could make something this size. But you could also still learn a lot just from these previews. This is the point in the basket that it just gets quite therapeutic because you've got everything in place, it's all tight, and you're just gap filling at this point. And because you've done both sides, you're generally in the swing of it and you can just switch off a bit because it's just the same repetitive movements that you've already been doing to this point. It's quite a pleasant stage to get to. Although it does get harder as the gap gets smaller, that's the only thing. And we trim it just so it's all smooth when you run your hand over it and nothing catches. As we're going, we're keeping the basket as even as possible on both sides, and we're just working to close that gap up towards the middle. Down to tiny spaces now. Just two little triangular sections, so we're not going to be able to get a weaver through the central piece, but we'll be able to go from the centre, up one side, maybe wrap around the rim a couple of times, back down, cut it off back at the bottom centre. It's a bit more fiddly this stage, it's not particularly easy, it takes quite a bit of time, and you can separate the weavers to find that gap and just slot them in to fill up the spaces so it's all tight. And there we have it, a little frame basket. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you get a chance to make one yourself. And if you need to follow along at a slower pace and get much more information on the steps of how to make it, then please see the link below for the tutorial and for the PDF. Thank you. Okay, so there we have it. A nice little frame basket. Hopefully you learned a lot from that, and even better if you've ended up with this as your end result. But anything you have made, please, send pictures, share your makes, because it makes all this so much more worthwhile to see anything that you do create. And even better if the whole process, the pace, the slowness, learning to work with Willow as a material has got you hooked, because it's a nice, mindful place to be. Although it's slow, you get a lot out of it, and it's really rewarding. That's all part and parcel of it. So yeah, if you've enjoyed that, then you'll want to make more. I reckon you'll see things in a way that's like, oh, that's an idea, I could do that. So that's all pretty exciting. And if you've got something like this after watching that's what it's all about. Yeah, that's really cool. So yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you've taken something away from that, and hey, I'm going to have to do another one. Thanks very much.